I think it was 115 years or 150 years sentence for 150, right? Yeah, for the largest Ponzi scheme in U.S. history. I think it was excess of $60 billion or so that it was valued at. That he ran for anywhere from 15 to 30 years. But before we get to Bernie Madoff and lessons and so on, Afolabi, what's the lay of the markets? How are you seeing things?
Cool stuff. So once again, thank you for having me. So the market has mostly been a bit bearish and quiet. By bearish, I mean it's been sort of tending downwards. This is largely because corporate earnings season is practically done and dusted. All the corporates have pretty much announced their corporate actions, dividends, and bonuses for the full year ended 2020. And investors have either banked these corporate actions or have taken positions to bank these corporate actions. Generally speaking, the corporate actions were quite decent, considering that we came out of a year like 2020. If you look at the likes of Stanbic, IBTC, of course, we declared both dividend and bonus for investors. That was quite exciting for investors. So now that all of that is over, what we're seeing on a daily basis is that activities are sort of being driven by mostly pre-arranged transactions, and outside of these, it's very quiet. Local investors are mostly the ones dominating activities, and foreign investors are largely quiet. For me, I think the next trigger would probably be when we start seeing first quarter earnings come out. Investors will probably get a sense of what to expect, for the year ahead. And also, because dividends are being paid out now, investors will probably have some cash, and that could, potentially come back into the market. So that's really what's happening now in the market.
Great stuff. I was looking at over in the US, JP Morgan, Goldman Sachs, and Wells Fargo, they all declared healthy profits simply because they came from such a low base where Q1 from a year ago was terrible. So do you think, you think maybe we might see that once Q1 earnings start coming in because of how bad things were last year, you think maybe they'll be healthy?
Yeah, generally speaking, I think the expectation is that, if companies were able to, survive, COVID last year, which was sort of like the worst of the worst, things have started opening up a little bit. Now, at least we're not in total lockdown, as we were, at some point last year. So, generally the expectation is that, we might start to see some improvements, in some of the numbers.
Okay, good stuff, good stuff. All right, Afolabi, quiet sessions on the market. We'll see how things pick up when those results come out, as you said. Afolabi, is there anything to learn from, I don't know if I should call it legacy. I guess it's a tarnished legacy because this man was a criminal. And I just want to remind people that as much as we talk about the corruption in Nigeria and 419, the US and the West, they still lead the way when it comes to these massive 419 scams and schemes and so on. What is there anything to learn from Bernie Madoff based on the tragic life that he lived?
Yeah, I think there are quite a number of things. The first thing I would say is that, as, an investor, it's your money you're putting in, so trust your instincts, and don't ignore sort of like red flags. For me, I take it as if it sounds basically too good to be true, then more than likely, it's probably too good to be true. If someone is promising you, maybe like a 60% return, and then you check, sort of similar investments around, and what's the yield that you're getting in that is maybe around 10%, and somebody's telling you like, oh, I can give you 60%, then for me that's a red flag, and then something about doing your due diligence. Don't just assume that because somebody has a sort of like a good reputation, or a firm has a good reputation that your investment is safe. Like I said, it's your money. It's your responsibility to, protect your own assets and stuff. So, do your own due diligence, another thing is that, fraud is real, and unfortunately it's real people that are behind, the suffering. It's real people that will feel the effects, the after effects, which is what happened in this sort of Bernie Madoff case. When you hear the stories of the victims, it was like, spanned across, the whole world, from Latin America to Austria to Spain, Ireland, Japan, it was a massive one, and then one thing I think that is quite important as well is that, check out, whoever you're investing with, make sure that they're registered with the appropriate regulator, for Nigeria, the apex regulator for the capital market is the Securities and Exchange Commission. So you can check it out. There's a website to see, companies that are registered, just to make sure you're dealing with a legit, person. And I think the last thing I would say on this is, ask a lot of questions. Find out about what's the strategy for investment for the company. For funds, asset management companies, they produce fact sheets which have details about how they invest. It's not just about the returns. What are they investing in? Do you understand what they're investing in? If you don't, then you probably have no business putting your money there. I mean, there are other things to say, but I think I'll just probably just leave it there for now.
Great stuff, Afolabi. Lots of key points. Benchmark the rates that you are being given. Check the market and know what their market is doing. Check to make sure that they are registered. Check with the appropriate regulator. Do your due diligence, fact sheets, and so on. I think one of the issues, though, Afolabi, is people don't know those steps to take. I know the average. I guess the average individual is not, I guess they have to be more aware of what the market is doing. I don't know how many Nigerians you can reach out to and say, do you know what the stock market is doing in terms of returns this year? Do you know what bonds are doing? Do you know what T-bills? So I think do you think there still needs to be more work done in terms of financial literacy so that people know what to do when somebody approaches them and says, I can give you 60% return in 3 months? Is there more work to be done on financial literacy so that people know these steps?
Most definitely. I mean, the selling point is always the return. I was thinking about it. We're all human beings. We all want to make money. Make a better life for ourselves, for our family, and stuff. If somebody comes to you, probably wearing a shiny suit, looks reputable, and stuff, and speaks the right English to you, as a human being, if you think about it, more than likely you probably think that, you'll be tempted to, to listen to what they're saying, so definitely more awareness, needs to be created, about this, and, I think I've seen a couple of times when, maybe there's a popular Ponzi scheme that's going on, and, sometimes the regulator would speak out and say, hey, steer clear of this, and stuff, which is also the importance of, dealing in sort of like an asset class where there's a regulatory body that oversees what's going on. At least that the regulatory body is there to protect you as an investor. So that's what I would say.
Great stuff. And for our own environment, the MMMs of this world, there've been a whole number of them. As far as the reason why I guess Nigerians keep falling for these things, and it's not just Nigerians, people around. I mean, Steven Spielberg was an investor in Bernie Madoff's scam, and just because his name is Steven Spielberg and he's big in Hollywood doesn't mean he knows much about investments, right? People keep saying that, oh, Steven Spielberg was one of the people who lost money, and so Steven Spielberg is a movie maker. Doesn't mean he knows. It doesn't mean he knows stuff about investments, but. Does the economic environment, Afolabi, does that play a role? I mean, things have been tough in Nigeria, so I don't know, is that part of the reason why, or is it greed, or as I pointed earlier, maybe ignorance? What about the economic environment? What role does that play?
I think it's a mix of all those things, to be honest, and it goes back to what I was saying. And you also mentioned it. Funny enough, that was actually going to be my response. That things are hard. For some people, things are really, really tough. And for some people, they just need a break. And when these sort of opportunities come, almost on a silver platter, it looks like, man, this is what I've been waiting for. Let me just go all in. And sadly, sometimes at the back of some people's minds, they know that. Maybe this thing is actually not, as legit, but let me just do my own. Let me get in and get out before the whole thing scatters and stuff like that. So it's a mix of it's a mix of all those things. And, my voice is sounding a bit mellow because I feel the harsh realities of what's going on. Things can be really tough, out there for people. And for some people, it's just like they just need a break, and unfortunately, that's probably, one of the things that, makes one of these things so rampant.
So rampant indeed. We have a message here very quickly, Rotus. This is coming from Olu, and he has a message for you guys. It goes, these agri-tech guys, we're criticizing them, but in that space, they are all offering returns that we consider abnormal. Is there fundamentals backing this? That's his question.
Yeah, that's the problem. Afolabi, I don't fundamental. I mean, it's crops now. Any one of us, three of us here can go and decide to start farming.
Yeah,
promise people returns. But look at what's happening with the herdsmen crisis, the flooding in was it Kogi State or where was it last year? So the fundamentals are for agri. I don't know.
I'm not sure, So I think it all goes back to, like, if you don't really understand, what it is that is going on there and how it is that the money is being made there, then if you want to really protect yourself, I'd say just stay away and look for something that you actually understand. You're better off in the long run. Some people will go into it and definitely would make money, but unfortunately, like we're looking at from the Bernie Madoff case now, there will be some casualties, and if you are sort of going in like armed with information, and understanding, about what it is you're going into, then more than likely, you're likely to sort of like, be better off at the end of the day.
I would say, and on this agri matter, a lot of people have gotten some pushback saying, Rotus, you're being overly preachy. People have a right to invest in risky investments, right? It's just a matter, I think, if you can quickly, I know I'm running out of time. As far as diversification, like the Bitcoins of the world and all these ultra high risky investments. If you know this thing is risky, I've told people, if you can afford to lose this amount of money, then go ahead, but just don't. You were saying something about going all in earlier. It's not a good idea to go put all your eggs in one basket. But if you are aware of the risks and you want to gamble, then what do you think, Afolabi, if you can allocate a portion that you can afford to miss? They have a right to do that, yes, if they know what.
No, I actually agree with you. They have a right to do that. It's I think the key thing, like you said, is money that they can afford to lose. It's not money that has been pledged for maybe school fees, or something important that that is like your day to day. If it's something that, like, if this money goes down the drain, it's not really going to do. Yeah, you'll be upset, but it's not going to, like, break you and that kind of a thing. Then I think, yeah, I mean, it's your right. It's your money. You can go ahead and do.
Exactly. I just
deal with it. That's my view.
Fine. I said, let me just put that out there so that as long as I've warned people several times on this show. So if you know what you're doing, just allocate a small portion. All right, I guess we're out of time.
You're out of time indeed. We have some messages I really want to. Yes. But this is from Yinka Bolu. It goes, Rotus, it's greed. However, there are a level Nigeria will mess with you that you start thinking anti-clockwise. The only agri-invest I join is anyone with cows. And this message is from Tokwe from Lagos. Going into MMM and the like is called degenerate are you a degen? Okay, so it's called a degen. Is from degenerate. Are you a degen enough? That's what he's saying. He's asking. I don't know what that is. And this last message is from I can't take that. That's quite rude. But anyway, that brings us to the very end of the show.
Talking about investments. Afolabi Gbenro, equity Stanbic IBTC. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you guys for having me. It was a pleasure.
Great stuff. Thank you all for your messages. I guess I'll catch you tomorrow for Tech Friday, Judith.
All right, and that's that. That brings us to the very end of Business Express right here on Smooth Breakfast. Join us at 7:30 for Freshly Pressed 981. Stay with us.
Trends beyond the headlines. Business Express.